What does a crypto custodian actually do?
Yeah, so great question. So I think people need to think about us a little bit like a vault, um, in the physical sense, although we are thinking about digital here. We essentially store the assets in secure offline infrastructure and essentially protect the assets from external counterparties trying to access them, from, fraudulent events, etc. We are a fully regulated financial institution, again, structured as a trust. So it's very important for people to understand that, we operate mostly as a financial institution first and foremost. We are financially audited, we have a list of requirements that we need to meet to be able to service our clients. But ultimately, the service we do provide is essentially vaulting digital assets in, offline infrastructure.
It's a fascinating space, and based on the last couple of years, I think we're talking more about custody and custody as a service than we've ever talked about before. What are some of the key points that you would like consumers and advisors to know about custody as a service?
Yeah. So I think it's there's an inherent trust in today's traditional finance environment, right, or infrastructure. When you pay with a credit card, when you write a check, when you go into your online portal and you do an Interact transfer, you are essentially trusting your banking institutions to manage your assets in a ethical and secure way. I would say when you think about digital asset custodian, and what you should think about is the robustness and the quality of the custodial services that you're getting into. I would argue that it's even more important for digital assets than it is for traditional assets, because there's no capacity to reverse a transaction once it's on the blockchain. So mismanagement of transactions or assets or processes is something that is very important to consider when choosing a counterparty. Additionally, given what we've seen in the last 12 to 18 months around the different counterparties that have got in trouble for rehypothecating assets, etc., you need to be mindful of the counterparty you're choosing, what they are allowed to do by law with your assets. And the third point, which we always say, is where is your counterparty located? There's a lot of different views on digital assets globally at the moment. There's a lot of different regulators that are taking different stance against digital assets. And being mindful of where the service provider is located and the risk you are taking by having your assets in that geography is incredibly important to consider as well.